there's a lot that Biden has done just in the last couple of weeks, his administration, that people, we talked yesterday about the climate bill, $370 billion bills with incentives for everything from electric cars to green energy production, which is amazing. Of course, a $500 billion infrastructure bill for new roads, bridges, and broadband. Only 24% of people surveyed even know that this has been passed. So I feel like, again, marketing and public, like they have a really hard, and I said this about the Obama administration, did all of these things, and then you let them call it Obamacare and then turn it into a negative when everybody loved Affordable Care Act. And you allowed that to happen with them messaging. I was thinking about that today too. I was like, why don't you talk more? Or at least you don't have to talk about it. Deploy 12 people on TikTok every day. Their job is to go. I think I heard somewhere that Kenny, I think he goes by Too Raw, Too Much or whatever on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok, that Kamala Harris's people have hired him. I hope that's true, because he's straight up ratchet, over the top, but he gets the message out. Drew comments, Reese Colbert, like there's like, I could rattle off like 10 people that would be great for them to just throw a little DNC money at, better than funding a Republican candidate, and get your message out, because I'd rather vote for something than vote against something. Y'all got to do better. What are you excited about, Pam Keith, in terms of this political cycle that we're in?
I'm excited about the energy of women, and we haven't talked enough about what happened in Kansas. There's a couple lessons from what happened in Kansas.
What happened in Kansas?
Oh my God, they're all of the pollsters said that it was neck and neck between the yes vote and the no vote on the constitutional amendment to the state constitution to outlaw abortion, and they said that the yes was slightly ahead of no, right? And so they're sophisticated entities out there that do this polling, right? And so they thought this was going to be neck and neck, and the yes was probably going to win it. And they undercounted the no vote by 18 points. Now, girl, that's just failure of polling. That is a polling failure. That is telling you that your entire polling mechanisms and assumptions were just way off. And what's interesting about Kansas that people may not know is that it's a closed primary state, meaning that independents don't typically have a reason to go to the polls in the primary, because they don't get to vote for the Democrat or the Republican. They have to be registered with the party to get a party ballot. And so a whole bunch of independents came out and voted on a ballot that had basically nothing on it but this referendum. And they came out expressly for that purpose, and they went 3-1 no to yes. So I think there's a sleeping giant out there. And I think personally, the way I'm reading the tea leaves, and I'm not an expert on this, but I feel like I've been around politics a hot minute, is that there's a combination of things going on here. There's a lot of agitas on the side of the GOP, and it gets all of the airtime. It gets all of the media attention. It gets all of their frenzy. I mean, like that huge bill passed. The only thing they seem to care about is 87,000 IRS agents coming after them. Geez, I wonder why. But I think there's a great underpolling of the general regular American who's sick of the nonsense. I think there's an underpolling of the just tired of the crazy GOP noise. I don't think it is actually normal orthodox American thinking to see a bunch of fascists on TV celebrating the most fascist leaders of the world, embracing the iconography of the Nazis, Aryan nation stuff. I think a lot of people are turned off by that. And I think there is a great underreporting of the turnoff factor.
Yeah. And doing that, that makes the media even more derelict, right? Because what you then do is you normalize this behavior, and then maybe people who, for whom it's not a problem or whatever, it's like, okay, it's not so bad. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't make it a negative so that people like I'm all good with people going back to their dungeons and not being so. I mean, to see on the media the cars lined up outside of Mar-a-Lago today with their Trump signs and their American flags and all, I was like, really, y'all. But I said, if you hit them, you better take them out, because and the FBI is notorious for sitting up on somebody for several years. They only go in usually when they have a clear-cut case. If this ain't that, Pam Keith, we're gonna have a problem.
I'm confident that it is. Merrick Garland was not champing at the bit to go after Donald Trump. The opposite is true. And God knows my Twitter has been blowing him up for a year and a half, because the truth of the matter is Donald Trump had those documents for a year and a half, right? He had them since he left the White House.
What documents do we think he has?
I think he had access to the most secret information, clandestine operations, where our submarines are, the stealth technology on our stealth fighters, things like who are we paying to knock out people? Are we paying to knock out people? I don't know. But do we have contracts with companies like what used to be BlackRock or Blackwater or whatever? Where our CIA houses, interrogation spots are, where our nuclear warheads are? Like, there's a lot of information that our enemies would pay a pretty penny for. And again, the biggest mistake was giving Donald Trump access to that information in the first place, when he couldn't clear a background check, right? He couldn't get a TS clearance. But he's the president of the United States. The people elected him. The fact of the matter is, there are people out there selling this ridiculous trope that, he was the president, he could declassify anything he wants to. First of all, that's not true. It's fundamentally not true. But even if it were, let's just take their argument as true. The process for declassifying documents is not, I walk out the White House with them. The process is still that you have to track it. You have to have security measures. You have to have command and control of the document, who has access to it. He has people in Mar-a-Lago from China, from Russia, from everywhere, including people that are janitorial staff and catering staff. Are they all going through a TS clearance before they go into Mar-a-Lago? Not only no, hell no. So we have no idea who had access to these documents. And the thing is, he took them because he thought he could use them. And the question is, in what capacity could he use them? In what way are they useful? Well, they're only useful to our enemies. They're not useful to our friends.
So how do we know he still had them?
Because the archives, like I said, classified documents are archived.
But is there like a homing device on them? Like,
there's a numbering system on them. There is a tracking system on every page of every document.
Interesting.
And so they do have an actual archive list of every document that should be there. And if they look at the documents, 672.64 and 672.68 are not there, they know they're missing. Right. So when I tell you, I had a TS clearance when I was a JAG, because I was the first JAG assigned to the Navy Computers and Telecommunications Computer Network Safety Task Force. Did I know anything about tech? No, I did not. But I had to be able to pass a TS clearance in order to look at these documents about how the Navy was securing its computer systems against hackers and foreign elements. Let me tell you something. There is not one document that I saw in that process that I could just walk out with. Period. Like, not one. So if I had taken one document, I would have been under the jail, let alone crates and crates and crates of documents. But other thing people need to understand is that Donald Trump was asked to give back this stuff. He was told the first time. Remember they seized documents way back in, what was it, February, March? They went in there and the FBI took a whole bunch of documents out. I assure you, they asked him, is this everything? Right? Like I'm sure they asked him. And if he said, yeah, that's it, that's all I have. And somebody drops dime and says, oh, no, you should have checked his super secret mass, safe under the pool or wherever it was.
Right.
And they find documents in there. Now he's committed several crimes. He committed the crime of absconding with the documents in the first place. Then he's committed the crime about lying about it. Right. Like, right. So now you got an obstruction problem. And, right. This is not minor stuff. This is not her emails.
Right.
The classified stuff that the Secretary of State has access to is very different than the classified stuff that the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces has access to. They are not the same. I'm not saying that Hillary didn't have access to important information, but she ain't going to have access as to where the CIA houses are.
Look at that. Okay, so they took 15 boxes of material. Apparently, the FBI would have needed to convince a judge that it had probable cause. They're saying it's political because, you know, judge would have had to sign off, and it would require officials at the Bureau, FBI, and the Justice Department, which is under Biden's purview. So he would have to know about this.
The director of the FBI was appointed by Trump.
So there you go. So
but more importantly, the only way they have an argument is if the search did not come up with anything. If it came out with 15 boxes, then you lost the argument. You lost the argument.
You want to know how you know that he lost the argument? Because he's the one that leaked that it happened. He's the one that told the world that there was an FBI, because the FBI didn't say anything.
No, it would have gotten out anyway, because Mar-a-Lago, like I said, I tell people don't know Mar-a-Lago. They're like, it's his private house. It's actually not. It's a convention venue. It's a wedding venue. You know, it has meetings. It has catering. It has restaurant capacity. Is it open to the public? Not exactly, but are thousands of people up through Mar-a-Lago every year? Absolutely. It's a convention center functionally. And so this idea, like I said, if they said to a judge, we're looking for X documents, and they come out with 15 boxes, then it tells you that they found at least some of those documents they were after. And he shouldn't have had none of those documents, not a one. If they came out completely empty-handed, the GOP would be sound and saying, what the hell? But when they come out with 15 boxes, dude, y'all lost that argument.
Okay, so what's going to happen? Because he announced that he's running. So,
did he?
Or that he's contemplating running, which he's been threatening.
He's been contemplating running all this time.
If he's arrested, because I think you can still run for office even if you're in jail or if you're arrested. Run. Yeah,
but he can't. He's foreclosed from ever being president if he's convicted on any one of those documents. Understand that each document is its own criminal count. Right.
Wow.
It's not like the cash is a
right.
Is a
so it'll be like 15 counts.
It'd be
this would be interesting.
Hundreds, right? Like exactly.
Okay. Oh, each document, not the boxes.
Each document is a violation.
Oh, okay.
Each document is a violation. So does he run? I think my personal instinct says he does, because he's convinced that the DOJ won't touch him if he's a presidential candidate. I'm not sure that that's currently true. And I think he's probably right now reeling at his handlers who told him not to announce, because I think he kind of feels like if he had announced, this raid would not have happened. And so he's probably really angry. I hear on Twitter that 15 or 12 GOP congressmen are meeting with him right now, right? I bet they want to know.
And they're threatening if they take back the House that they're going to retaliate. This is going to be really interesting. Let's talk about this when we come back.